Hey foodie friends, so I asked ChatGPT if it could help me make Bethenny Frankel's protein bagel recipe more like an actual bagel. Let's see if it works. Let's get saucy. All right guys, so I have made that recipe before and they turned out okay, but I wanted them more like a normal bagel. So let's see if ChatGPT actually works. So here I've got 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm gonna add in a teaspoon and a half of baking powder, a teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of active instant yeast. Just gonna give that a quick mix to mix everything together. I guess I should have just done this in the bowl of my stand mixer because now I'm just gonna add the other stuff. The recipe originally is just the cottage cheese, which is here. I've already blended it up. So you can blend it up to make it smooth. You can leave it whole curds if you want. I just wanted to make it smooth. That's what I did the first time. And I think that's gonna be a better texture. So the cottage cheese, flour, and baking powder, that's her original recipe. And so I wanted to try to make it, like I said, more like a regular bagel. So we're gonna knead it a little bit. The recipe that she does doesn't call for that. And we also added the yeast, so we're gonna let it rise. Now, again, that recipe, good recipe. They were enjoyable, not like a real regular bagel though. So that's what I'm going for here to see if I can get it a little bit closer. So it is gonna need some rise time because we're adding the yeast to it. So if you want something really super quick, her recipe is gonna be the way to go because you can have those mixed up and baked in like 35 minutes total. I'm going in here with a tablespoon of honey. That's just gonna help our yeast give it something to eat a little bit. That's optional, you don't have to add that, but you know, let's see, like I said, what ChatGPT can do and see if it can make this recipe more like an actual bagel recipe. So then I'm gonna add in my flour mix. So that's the flour, baking powder, yeast, and salt. Another thing is her original recipe didn't call for salt. Now, when I did it the last time and used her recipe, I did add salt to it too because I really feel like any bread dough needs salt in it. So we are going to pop our dough hook on here and we're gonna get this mixed up into a shaggy dough and then we're gonna knead it. We don't wanna over knead this because it's gonna get tough. We're gonna give it like 4 to 5 minutes here in the stand mixer. If you wanted to do it by hand, you would wanna do it for like 6 to 8 minutes on the counter by hand. But I'm gonna lock this down and go slowly to start just to get this kind of mixed up into a shaggy dough. And then we'll give it, like I said, 4 to 5 minutes to knead. And then we're gonna have to let it rise. So just scrape down the bottom of the bowl a little bit because some of the dry flour was still down there. It's come together into a ball of dough. It's a pretty stiff dough, but like I said, we're gonna now knead it for a few minutes, try to get some structure worked into it. So. All right, so our dough has been kneading for about 5 minutes. Like I said, it's a good kind of stiff dough, which is kind of, I mean, it feels more similar to a bagel dough than the last one that I made. Like I said, hers just had all the cottage cheese and the flour and baking powder. So it feels a little bit more like a bagel dough to me. So we're going to go ahead and scrape this off, get all of the dough out, and I'm gonna put it in an oiled bowl and let it rise. So the rise is gonna be about 45 minutes to an hour. It doesn't need to quite double in size, just needs to get puffy, get that yeast going a little bit. So once that is done, I'm just gonna oil my bowl here. Once that is done, we'll come back and shape our bagels and then we'll get them ready to go in the oven. So again, hers, like I said, was just that step with the dough. You get it done, you make the bagels and you bake them off. So we are going to add the step of boiling them this time. Again, I want to create that bagel texture, that kind of chew and that texture on the outside that a normal bagel would have. So we're going to go ahead and boil them with a little baking soda. Anyway, I'm gonna cover this with plastic wrap. I'm gonna let it rest for, like I said, 45 minutes to an hour, and then we'll come back and finish these off. All right, foodie friends, so we have left our dough to kind of rest and get a little bit of a rise for about an hour now. So again, we're not looking to double in size. We're just looking for it to puff up a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and divide it. This makes 6 bagels, so I'm gonna divide it into 6 equal pieces, and I'm actually going to weigh it so I can get them as even as possible. You don't have to do this, just eyeball it if you want to. going about 90 to 93 grams per, and then if we have a little bit left over, we'll just divide it up between them all. All right, so those are all set. I'm gonna just go ahead and roll them into a ball, and with my thumb or finger, I'm going to put a hole in the center of each one to make our bagels. Super simple. So my counter is not floured because I want it sticky so the dough kind of sticks to it while I roll it like this. That way it brings it all together into a ball. Just cupping your hand. I've shown you guys this before, and I'm sure you've seen it on other videos from other people. So flatten it out just a little bit, and I'm gonna dip my finger in a little bit of flour over here and just put a hole right in the center, and then I'm gonna stretch it out a little bit. I'm gonna be careful with this because it's a pretty rigid dough, and I don't wanna tear it, but I want my bagel to have a hole in the center, obviously. So I'm gonna do this to all 6 of these and set them aside, and when those are ready, I have a pot of water off to the side here that has come to a gentle boil. I don't want it like a hard boil. To boil them for about a minute, 30 to 45 seconds per side. All right, so all of my bagels are shaped. Like I said, I have my water here at just like a light boil. I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit. And to that water, I'm just going to add a tablespoon of baking soda. And that's gonna help give us that classic bagel crust on the outside and help also to get some of the browning on it. So tablespoon of baking soda in there. And again, we're gonna put these in here about 30 to 45 seconds on each side. I'm gonna do it in batches, 3 at a time. So we're just gonna drop them in. So we'll just leave them in here for about a minute to get that start on the outside, and then we're gonna land them over here on our baking sheet. I've got this lined with a silicone mat. You could use parchment paper if you don't have a silicone mat, but you definitely want to have something for them to land on. So they did float back up to the top now that they've been in there for a second, so give them a couple more seconds in here, and I will do a little flip because the top is kind of poking out of the water a little bit. These are kind of smaller bagels too. They're not like huge, like normal size bagels. They're a little bit on the smaller side, but that's okay. And the original recipe, I think she said there was about 150 calories per bagel. Because I did use a little bit more flour in these, there are gonna be about 200 calories per bagel, but still, that's still like 70 to 100 calories lower than most normal bagels. I'm gonna flip these, and then when I finish the other 3, we'll come back and finish them up and pop them in the oven. All right, so these other 3 are done. We're gonna just pop them on here, and then I'm going to finish them up. So I have some black and white sesame seeds I'm gonna put on these. Put everything bagel seasoning, some flaky salt, whatever you want. You can leave them plain if you wanna leave them plain, that's totally fine too. But we also have an egg wash, so just an egg that I beat lightly, and I'm gonna brush them with that. Now I already have my oven preheated to 375 degrees. I did that while the dough was resting. So I brush these with egg wash. Whether you're gonna put a topping on them or not, you wanna brush them with the egg wash because that's gonna help them get that really nice sheen, that golden brown sheen to them. So brush these, and then I will, like I said, I'm gonna sprinkle them with some black and white sesame seeds. Again, whatever you wanna put on them or leave them plain. All right, these are all set, so we're gonna go into the oven. Again, 375, they're gonna go for about 20 to 25 minutes until they're nice and golden brown, and then we're gonna have to let them cool before we can eat them. So we'll be back when they are out of the oven. All right, foodie friends, so our bagels baked for about 25 minutes, and they've been cooling here for about another 15 minutes, but look at them, they are so pretty. They did, puff up a bit, and they pretty much closed up the holes you can see there. So next time I do these, because I think I'm definitely gonna do these again this way, I'll just make sure to kind of open them up a little bit more. They're still a little bit warm, but you can see like it's good and soft. right? It's got a nice brown on the bottom, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut this one and see how the inside looks. It's still a little warm. I probably should wait a little bit longer because, you know, you cut bread when it's still too warm and it's still got a bunch of steam inside, so it gets kind of a little stodgy, but that looks really nice. Look at the inside. It's got some nice pockets from the yeast in there. It's still steaming a little bit. This smells really good. It smells and looks a lot more like a bagel than the original recipe that Bethenny put on her website. So, you know, if you want a quick shortcut bagel, definitely check her recipe out. If you don't mind spending just a little bit more time, go ahead and do this one. This wasn't that much more involved, and it's really just about a little bit of extra kind of inactive time, letting the dough rest and rise just a little bit. So I'm gonna put a little bit of butter on this, and I'm also going to put a little bit of this. This is a flaky wild garlic salt that I got from IKEA. So I'm gonna put a little bit of that on here because I use unsalted butter. So I want a little bit of this flavor on here too and give this a taste. This is really good, guys. Delicious. It's got that chew. If this was toasted, once they cool down, and you know, I'd cut them and toast them, this is a lot more like a regular bagel than the one that Bethenny makes. Now, again, hers is really good. Either one of the recipes would be great. This is a little bit longer. Like I said, you're just using that 60 minutes basically for the dough to rest and let that yeast start to activate a little bit. But if you're looking for something that's kind of a little bit more of a shortcut and more close to a bagel, then I would go with this. I'm going to go ahead and link her recipe in the description box, as well as just put this recipe down there too. So thanks as always, guys, for joining me here on Getting Saucy with Chef Lynn. You can follow me across all social media at Chef Lynn Wheeler. My website is cheflynnwheeler.com. You can find my other recipes over there. And remember, keep exploring, keep tasting, and keep celebrating the flavors that bring us together.